Welcome back tonight. Welcome back tonight. Oh, you all act like you ate too many hot dogs and cotton candy today, huh? Oh, what a day. It's not even over yet. Day full of adventure. It's always the Lord's Day. It's so full of adventure. We get to serve our community, get a lot of invites into our vacation Bible school. And I can say that I don't know if we've ever prayed over a cotton candy machine before. But we got it working today. And that cotton candy machine has served more people in White Lake. It's given diabetes to more people in White Lake than anybody. But we did it. And it's been a great day, and I'm glad you're here to close out the day. I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite. I feel like I should take my own sermon advice from this morning and just take a nap and get something to eat. But I guess we'll feast on God's Word tonight is what we'll do. First, I ask you to open your Bibles to Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11, as you're turning there, because we're going to see a very powerful yet short snapshot of faith as we go through our faith chapter here. And, it's interesting to think about when we get to heaven who we want to talk to, or maybe kind of our heroes of the faith, like Peter, post-Pentecost Peter. How brave he was. Sometimes we think, I want to be like Peter. I want to stand up in front of everyone and just eloquently proclaim the truth of the gospel to people, or maybe like Paul, where Paul had this grand conversion. He's able to go before kings and tell the truth, or even John and this is marvelous revelation, or maybe even Old Testament. Maybe your hero of the faith is Daniel. Can you imagine going in that lion's den? It's really too bad that they didn't have their phones and social media. Can you imagine the Instagram of Daniel in the lion's den? I mean, could you imagine? That'd be awesome, Felt in danger, may delete later, I mean, that must have been incredible. Or even David before Goliath. These guys are like we look to. These are mountains of faith, and we're just like, that's what I want. And I'm willing to bet no one here, if I were to say, tell me your number one hero of faith. If I could say, give me your top 5. If I could say, maybe give me your top 10, would I be right in assuming that Isaac would not be on your top 10? Stop and think for your Bible knowledge, what exactly did Isaac do? We can talk about Abraham, we can talk about Jacob, we can talk about Joseph. What did Isaac do? Right? Isn't that interesting? And here we have a verse. This is Isaac here. And by the way, let me just read verse 24. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. And we look at that and we go, okay, well, at first glance, this is him blessing, it's a man blessing his son. And to us, we don't really, okay, but where's the lions? Where's the giants, right? But this is what's really cool. I just want to get this point across before we go any further. I think this is really cool. Maybe for us, when we go, yeah, Isaac, cool, man. Good job, Isaac. But to God, it's a big enough deal where he put it in his word in Hebrews chapter 11. I'm just so thankful that we have a God who sees differently than we see. This is a big thing. I just want to say, for those of you who feel like I've been serving the Lord, I've been faithful, there's battles behind the scenes, where's my attaboy? Where's my recognition from the pulpit? Where is everyone? Maybe nobody sees, but God sees. And he appreciates you. Even if nobody values your faith, God values your faith. I just want to say, I just think that's great when we read this and we go through, because I can imagine, have you ever seen the meme that has all the lunchroom tables set up? And there's like Apostle at one of them, Daniel at one of them, say, where would you sit your first meal in heaven, right? Poor Isaac might be by himself. But what he did was important to the Lord. And so we're going to look at his faith as we continue our study in Hebrews chapter 11. And what I want to see is this was prophetic faith in action. Real faith doesn't just survive the moment, it shapes the future. This is something, as we see here, by faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come, the future. So here's the big picture. And I think this is so important. I'm telling you, I'm wrestling with this now in my own life, realizing that faith now yields dividends in the future. Sometimes the results aren't right away. Sometimes the work is now by faith. And there might be areas of faith where I need to get busy about sacrificing for and staying faithful that I'll never see the fruit of, but my children will. In church, there's areas where we need to be faithful It's Oxford Lake Baptist Church, and I stand here and say, church, God needs us to do this. And you go, well, what do we get out of it? Nothing. But we're going to set the next generation and the generation after them further ahead for them. Okay? That's worth it. And this is what he's saying here. This is something concerning things to come. We have to do that. And so that's our big picture. Let's look at lessons for our faith as we run forward. Lessons for our faith. And again, we got to look beyond just the right now. That's the way we are. We want immediate results, don't we? We want immediate results. I want to put money in the stock market and wake up tomorrow and be a billionaire. It makes me sick sometimes. I look at like the gold, how gold increases. It's the greatest hedge against inflation, right? And it's like, man, when I was 6 months old, if I just would have put everything in gold, right? When the tooth fairy came, if I just would have put that in gold, right? And boy, I'd be so faithful. I want to wake up tomorrow. I just want to be able to do something simple right now and have it work dividends right now, right? But listen, that doesn't always work that way. We'll talk a little bit about that. But let me get 3 points through as we look at this text, and I pray it challenges our faithfulness as we strive to run forward this year. And number one, what we see out of this text, and I want you to turn your Bibles to Genesis 27. As much as I want to stay in Hebrews, we need to get into Isaac's story. We got to get into Isaac's story. And by the way, if you were able to have lunch with Isaac in heaven, I imagine you won't be, Isaac, tell me about blessing Jacob and Esau. No. Isaac, what was it like when your dad almost killed you, right? That's where we would be, he's like, yeah, it happened. Don't want to talk about it. All right, faith that sees beyond the physical, faith that sees beyond what we see. We got to look ahead. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. Look at chapter 27 of Genesis. We see this story. Let me read a little bit. We'll make some application. I'll try to explain it. But the first 4 verses of chapter 27 says it came to pass that when Isaac was old, okay? He's old. His eyes were dim. How dim? So that he could not see. We call that being blind, all right? He's old. He's blind. He called Esau, his oldest son, said to him, my son. And he said unto him, behold, here am I. He said, right now, or behold now, I am old, and I know not the day of my death. Now therefore, take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, go out in the field and take some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, and my soul may bless thee before I die. That's every dad's dream right there, right? Son, go out in the woods, go kill me something, I'll bless you, and I'll die, right? All right, that's where we start out here. And he's going to see beyond this. Now Isaac was physically blind. We got to get that point. He's not just dim. He's not seeing shadows. He's done. He can't see nothing. We'll see how blind he is in just a moment. But faith gave him spiritual sight. He's old. He's weak. He's near death. But he trusted God's promise to Abraham would continue. He understood that the blessing was not cultural, it was covenantal. And so we talk about, well, what was this blessing? What was this all about? This is something that's very important because God said to Abraham, I'm going to bless you. People who bless you, I'll bless them. And people who curse you, I'll curse them. You're going to be blessed. This blessing went from Abraham. It went to Isaac. And so now we see this bloodline continuing. It has to go from Isaac to what normally would be the eldest son. It usually would be Esau. But we'll see how things get a little messed up in just a moment. But see, walking by faith today is more than what we see now. It's what God says will come. I often think about it, we do have marching orders now, right? We are to occupy, right? That means to be busy about the master's work, right? We have the Great Commission. We are to stay busy until Jesus comes back. None of us know when the Lord will come back. I'm hoping soon. We don't know, okay? It could be 10 years, it could be 10,000 years from now. When the Lord's timing is perfect, the Lord will come back. We don't know, all right? So here's the thing. We better, by faith, be setting up the next generation the best that we can. Because we don't know when that's going to be. And we have an amazing next generation coming up in our church and in our community. I absolutely, positively, absolutely loved our homeschool co-op yesterday. We had a co-op field day. I just think that's so fun for our kids. You homeschool your kids, and you're like, man, they're going to be socially weird because they're not going to, do things as a group. They're going to be weird anyways, but we bring them here, and they get to do stuff in a group, right? And they're running, and they're jumping, and Mr. Rob's got him doing, he's doing the obstacle course. He's got the kids doing like 30 burpees around. I said, this is just CrossFit. This isn't, he called it OxFit, right? That's what he called it. And he's got these little kids, and they're doing this obstacle course, and they're doing all this fun stuff. I'm looking at these kids, and the coolest thing was at the very end, we went through and we gave them awards for everything. They said, okay, this one was the fastest, this one jumped the furthest, all this. And then at the very end, Pastor Josh got up, and he says, I got rewards for this one. You ready for this, people? This is amazing. You're going to make you wish you were in our homeschool co-op. $5 gift cards to McDonald's. That's what I'm talking about. He says, this is a special award for the kids that memorized. How many verses you guys memorized out of Romans 8, right? How many verses do you have to memorize? 8 verses. 8 verses out of. How many adults here have Romans 8, 1 through 8 memorized? 1 through 12? Chapter 12 or 8? Chapter 12, 1 through 8. Memorize them both. I don't know. All right. How many have that memorized? I'm just saying, isn't it amazing the spiritual discipline these children have? I'm really excited. My son told me on the way home today, he goes, Dad, I have a sermon idea for you. He says, you need to do a message on the 10 lepers and how a lot of them didn't come back. And I said, why don't you prepare a message on the 10 lepers? I want to see a 10-year-old preach with a message from God about the truth of His Word. I'm just really excited. I'm just saying, church, we don't know, but let's go ahead and set this generation up the best we can. I know Father's Day is coming up next week, right? So I don't want to get into a Father's Day message, but you know the problem we're having today with fathers is because they say yes to pleasure now, and it ends up being pain later for their family. You want to be a man of God, you need to say no to pleasure now and yes to pain now. That's being a man of God. You say, I don't like it. That's just the way it is. Deal with it. I mean, you can be one of those guys who never grows up, because Paul said, when I became a man, I put away these childish things. Some men never put away childish things. We have a whole generation now, they're my age, still suckling off their parents. Listen, go out. I don't like my job. That's why they pay you, Do it. That's what a man needs to do, because why do we do that? We do that for our families. We want to set them. I want to give my kids a better life than they gave me. I want to give the church a better church than what was handed to me. I say that, though. I don't want to give Pastor Josh a better youth ministry than I had, though. I want you to suffer still. That's the best ministry there is. I don't know why that is. I'm just a mean guy. But that's what we have to do. Are we training our eyes on the eternal or distorted by the immediate? Number 2, we see in this story that faith isn't always as neat and clear as we'd like it to be. This is a messed up family story. And this will make you happy, because a lot of us, there's areas in our families that are kind of messed up. And we wish they were another way. And I don't want you to think, well, because my family's this way, God can't use me or my faith doesn't matter. Look at this family. I got to read just a little bit here. We're going to jump. We're in chapter 27. I'm going to look at verse 18. And I'm going to read just a little bit further this time, but I want you to see the story of how, but the problem is, Rebecca comes around and she goes, Jacob, by the way, that was her favorite son, was Jacob. They're twins. When you have twins, you're not allowed to have favorites. Despite what my daughter told you last Sunday night, I don't have a favorite child. Mommy is my favorite. And then all 3 of them, I love them the same, just in different ways, okay? So she says, hey, while your brother's out there hunting, I'll make up a meal. He'll never know the difference. But you go ahead and just make yourself a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch man, because apparently Esau was this hairy, stinky guy, and go in there and be like, hey, Dad, I'm Esau. He's blind. He can't see. And Esau goes, or Isaac goes, you sound like Jacob, but you feel and smell like Esau. He tricks, through Rebekah's plan, tricks Isaac and gets the blessings mixed up backwards. But there's a little bit more. It's not as easy as even that, okay? So look at, let's go chapter 7. Look at verse 18. 27, verse 18. And he came to his father, and he said, my father? And he said, here am I. Who art thou? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said to his son, How is it that you found it so quickly, my son? He said, Because the Lord thy God brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto his father, Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, The voice of Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. And he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he, Jacob, said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, that I may eat of my son's venison, my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him. And he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore, God give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nation bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Verse 30, And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made a savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, Who? Where is he that hath taken venison, and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. Okay, let's break this down just for a moment. We'll get into this, and this is kind of a messy story, right? There's trickery. There's things moving around. Mom's playing favorites. She's orchestrating things. Jacob's lying. He's a little bit of a trickster, and his will come back to him. But this is really kind of a mess up, and there's some regret here. Isaac's intention was to bless the oldest son, Esau. But God had chosen Jacob. In fact, he told Rebekah this back in Genesis chapter 25 and verse 23. He says, 2 nations are in your womb. He says, but one, the younger, will rule over the older, or the older will serve the younger. So she was aware of this. God had told her this. But even in all this confusion, God's sovereign plan was upheld. Isaac, we see in this verse 13, he says he trembled very exceedingly, and he realized he blessed Jacob. And again, I don't really know the cultural implications of this, but the one thing is this, he didn't reverse it. I don't know if that's an option, I don't know what it was, but he stood by it. Okay, this is it. This is the way it's going to be. I've already did it. This is how it's going to be. I'm not changing. His faith was not in perfect understanding, but in the God who cannot lie. You know, faith means trusting God even when our faith is unraveling. And we might not know what God is doing in our life, but we can trust He's doing it. Can you imagine watching somebody making a great tapestry? It's really a beautiful art as people will put all the different colors of the materials all together. And if you're standing on the backside of it, the backside's always going to look messy. There are going to be these on-cut ends, and it's just things aren't going to look exactly right, and all these things are kind of going to be this mess. But here's the thing. When you're allowed to see the front side, you see that it's not chaos. There's a pattern. There's something behind it sometimes. And what I want to say is this, that, you know, faith is trusting the master weaver. Although the image, the angle that we get to see sometimes, this doesn't make sense, and it looks really messy. You say, well, God, why would you allow this? And I've often mentioned this, and this is just my preference, this is my opinion, but I know a lot of people say, Pastor, have you seen this new movie? Hollywood likes to come out with a spiritual movie every once in a while, right? Oh, you understand, this church about this movie. I hate those movies, because in those movies, God always makes sense. I've been a pastor, I've been a Christian my whole life. There's so many areas of my life where God's done things, I have no idea why He did it. And I feel it conditions us to only trust God when we understand what he's doing. And at the end of the movie, everything's in a tidy little bow and everything works out fine and everybody's happy and God's little people are holding hands saying kumbaya. That's just not reality. Sometimes we don't see the results of our faith until much later on. All of a sudden, we see what God is doing. So we may not see the full picture from our side, but God never stitches without purpose. He's got something going on, whether it be the chaos. And so, listen, if you're dealing with chaos in your home or chaos in your family and chaos in all these different areas, listen, it doesn't mean that somehow everything's messed up. God is still God even in the chaos, and he can take care of all that. We've mentioned so many times before, it's amazing that we serve. When we had Jesus Christ in the boat, he came out of the boat and he stilled the storm. And that's just wonderful that God did that. That shows how powerful he was. He was demonstrating this. But a lot of times, every time we reach out and we say, God, calm the storm in my life, it doesn't always happen, does it? And by the way, that'd probably make us pretty soft little Christians, wouldn't it? So what does he do? He strengthens us to go through the storm. Or better yet, he goes through the storm with us. And we come out the other side more of a seasoned sailor as we go through that. I was a youth pastor for many years. My bread and butter were basically bus kids. My bread and butter of our youth ministry, there's some kids, man, we came from terrible homes. I would actually, this is back in 2004, 5, 6, 7, up until, I don't know, a while, I could just go pick up kids in my van. I could go to their house. The parents didn't care to meet me. They didn't care. Parents weren't even around half the time. It was awesome for youth ministry because I could just take their kids, And it's a different day now, Bro Josh, don't try that. But we do that. I had one time I was taking the kids. I took them to church the very first time. I don't remember if they made any decisions, but they loved it, and they got great. And I said, okay, I'm going to take you guys home. Where do you want me to drop you off at? They said, well, drop me off at that bar right there. That's where my mom works tonight. And I had the church van. I just thought that'd be a bad look if I pulled the church van in the bar and kids got out and everything. So I dropped them off down the street and made them walk there. But there were some pretty messed up homes. But I'm going to tell you, God used those homes. Even though it was rough, and even though it was sad, and even though those things strengthened them. And I'm going to tell you what, God comforts us so we can comfort others. And I watched some of them grow into these amazing adults, leading their own families differently because of the past they had. Absolutely amazing. But let me move on. Number 3, faith leaves a legacy that continues. Let's go to Genesis chapter 28. I think this is important as we continue the story. And here we go. We're talking about Isaac here. Isaac, who really, he was tricked. I don't know about you, when I feel tricked, it makes me feel like a big dummy. Isaac just goes, okay, well, this is what it is. I was tricked, and he's going to talk to Jacob now. And it's amazing, this conversation, how it goes with Jacob. In chapter 28 and verse 1, it says, and Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence thy daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people. And gave the blessing of Abraham to thee, and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave to Abraham. You see, Isaac affirms a blessing on Jacob and charges him towards the future, these promises. He sends him out with a generational word. It wasn't a blessing of success. It was a blessing of his destiny, what was going to pass on. I really just think it's really cool that you look at this, the same words that God said to Abraham, and we assume that Abraham said to Isaac, and now Isaac says to Jacob. It's this blessing. I know it's been generations, but God is going to do a work through this line. He's going to do this. He leaves a legacy. He sends them out, and it's amazing. So it challenges us today, then what are we passing on to the next generation? Our words can chain someone to their past, or it can charge them towards God's promises. I wonder what our words are to them. Because here's the thing, here's our themes here. We're running forward, we're racing, right? We're racing because God has a race for us. And so if we look at the general race of this great church that we've had, this church since 1953, I wasn't here when it was founded as a Sunday school classroom in a basement down the road, and when it became a first church and got its first pastor, and the ups and the downs, but I can tell you, they ran their race. And it's part of our race, because when their generation was over, they handed the baton to the next generation. And they ran until they were done, and they passed the baton on to the next generation. And right now, we have the baton. I believe they put us in a great situation. They got us a building that's paid off on property that's taken care of. It's beautiful, which happens to be in the dead center of the new White Lake. I mean, they left us really well taken care of. They kept a good Bible, where a lot of churches have gotten rid of a good Bible to one that people might like a little bit more. They gave us good doctrine. They kept us some great traditions, and they said, okay, here you go. Here's the baton. We've done this all for you, and now it's our turn. And I'll be honest with you, we can really do a couple things. We can sit down and put our feet up because we're in a pretty good situation and go, you know what, we're going to sit this one out and let the kids take the next one. Or we can kind of half jog, and we can kind of just go, well, we'll just kind of see what's easy for us. Or I'm telling you, what we can do is decide that we don't know how much time we have left, but God is worth it to His glory and the souls that He loves in White Lake, and we're going to run our race that is set before us. We're not going to let anything stop us, nor sin to beset us, or even any weight that's going to hold us back. And so therefore, when God, because we are done, and we hold the next generation, we take that baton and we pass it to Levi, because he has a message about the 10 lepers, and you got Malachi playing the piano now, because I hear he's amazing at it, and I cannot wait to hear him play in one of our services. And all of a sudden, that sounds like an awesome church I want to grow old and die in. Pass that baton. But here's the thing. The way we run now depends on that. We're not going to compromise our standards. We're not going to compromise our Bible. Don't even ask me to. We're not going to compromise any of those things, but we got to run forward the best we can. What are we passing on? You know, Isaac's faith wasn't loud. It was legacy. That's what the Lord said. Isaac, I'd imagine if I was writing Hebrews 11, I would have totally skipped over Isaac, to be honest with you. What do you say about Isaac? It's amazing that God gives him this legacy that he goes through. He believed in things to come, even when the present looked broken. He goofed. He meant to bless Esau. By the way, by the time your children are grown age and they're trying to fool you, you might have messed up as a parent. Oops, here's this God's blessed line, and I think I might have messed them up playing favorites and all these whole things that happened. But he believed in things to come. True faith sees past our limitations and sees God's promises. So what's your race? This is God's plan for your life. We talk about run forward. God has a plan for your life. What is it? What are you doing? Because it's bigger than our life. You know, we speak life over our children, our church, our future. We want to refuse to be paralyzed by what stands in front of us. We don't want to wait till we feel faithful. We want to start declaring God's promises today. We know how the story ends. We're waiting for the last trump of God. And that time comes, we're going to be raptured out of here. And then at that point down, Oxbow Lake Baptist Church is no longer here on earth. It's going to be in heaven. Listen, somebody shows up here on Sunday, that doesn't mean the church is still here. The sign's still out front. We're there. Until we get done with that time, we have to be faithful. We have to pass the baton. We have to continue. And even if they go through periods of time where things look crazy, that's my one thing I always bothers me about construction projects like we're doing. I said, nothing worse than somebody come in the lobby and things, Ralph does such a good job making sure things are buttoned up at the end of the week, though. We got big mounds of dirt out here. We got sawdust and stuff in there, whatever it is. Yeah, it looks a little chaotic, but we're doing this by faith to set up the next generation the best we can.